Welcome back to the Godly Young Men podcast. This is episode 24, and what we are talking about today is kind of the idea of picking a career. Let's face it, that's very intimidating for young men. I remember when I was 15, and I was having to make big college decisions simply because I was going to go ahead and start college courses. And one of the questions my academic advisor asked me was, all right, well, what do you want to major in? And I was like, I'm 15. I don't know. I genuinely was like, I don't know. I have no idea what I want to do with my life. It's one of those things that I think young guys a lot of times can just delay, like, I'll get to that later. I don't have to worry about that right now. And then they wake up and they're, graduating high school, and it's like, oh, maybe I should have thought of that. And so that's what we want to talk about with this episode, because regardless of your age, if you're still in high school, maybe even if you're still at college, you might still be asking this question of like, okay, what do I do for a career? How do I pick a career? And then full disclosure, we've actually got several episodes coming up about picking various things. We're going to talk about how to pick a godly wife. We're going to talk about how to pick good friends. And so we figured we'd start with this one, picking a career, because it is so incredibly important to have the foresight, the knowledge, the ability to identify, this is a field I want to be in. There's so many different elements we're going to talk about with this episode. And the first one is the idea of college versus the idea of going straight into the workforce. If you were to look 10, 15 years ago, what was the standard thing, and about 10 to 15 years ago, what was the standard thing that kids did when they graduated high school? They went to college. It was expected. You were going to go to college. To me, the trend that trend is shrinking a little bit simply because of the massive amount of debt that you incur going to college, because people have been disenchanted with the idea of college. A lot more people are going kind of straight into the workforce. They graduate high school and they go to trade school, and maybe they have a job lined up and they go to that rather than college. I'm curious, what are your thoughts on that? And we will preface it with, it is dependent on the situation. Like, everybody's different. College is for some people. College is not for other people. We are not going to come down blanket, you shouldn't do this. But what are your thoughts about the idea of college versus going straight into the workforce?
I mean, in my opinion, debt to benefit ratio, going straight into the workforce right now
is a
far
better bet,
outweighs.
you're saying.
Yeah, it's way better, just because if you put 4 years into a job and stay at that job for 4 years and really work your way up, by the time you're done, you could be making more. You're almost guaranteed to be making more at that point than you would be coming out of college. You say, well, I'd catch up faster. Not statistically speaking.
Yeah.
Just having a college degree these days means very little. There's a time in American history where having a college degree was like a big deal.
That's what I'm talking about. Like 10 to 15 years ago, you almost had to have one.
Exactly. It mattered. You think about back in the 70s, not that many people went to college. So if you had a degree, it's like, oh boy, this guy's,
you were highly sought after.
That's right. Yeah. He's serious about life. He's serious about his job. Nowadays, everybody and their dog has a liberal arts degree. Like, you could go on, I did mine online. And so a degree comes, I shouldn't say comes cheap, it comes very expensive, but a degree is kind of cheap, because it is the syndrome when everybody's super, nobody will be, right? And
right,
it's the same idea. When everybody has a college degree, nobody does. And so just for me, I don't know, I think about that side of it, like the benefit of having a college degree these days, unless it's a very specified college degree, which almost certainly means you need a master's or a PhD.
Right. That's the other thing that is so important in this discussion, is asking the question of, why do you want to go to college?
Yeah.
There are so many young men that I know personally, well, why do you want to go to college? The answer is usually, well, it's just kind of what they think it's what they're supposed to do, right? Well, it's just the next step, I guess, without really having a plan. But then the second thing is they want to go for the experience. That's the big word, right? The big phrase, the college experience. We are firm believers that if you are going to college just for the college experience, you should not go to college.
That's exactly 80 to 100 grand for an experience. That's quite the experience.
That is a terrible reason to go to college. And let's face it, what most people mean by the college, quote unquote college experience, is just go have a good time. They're not talking about the schoolwork. They're not talking about the life lessons you learn. They're talking about the social clubs, the freedom that you get, you're on your own schedule, you're away from your parents. That's what they mean. That's not exactly the best thing. And so, again, we're not anti-college, but if that's the we do want to start there. If that's the reason you're going to college, is for the experience, or to hang out with your friends, or to be involved in the intramural sports, or to go for the social atmosphere, that's the wrong reason.
Right. Is college a means to an end, or an end in and of itself? I think is how I look at it. If it's a means to an end of, hey, I really want to go into this particular field, I need this degree, and here's how I'm going to get there. Hey,
great.
Respect, man. Great. Good for you. If you're going to, college is the end, of itself and you just want to go with your buddies and have a good time and do cake stands, like, maybe not. And I know this is a Christian. I hope you're not doing any of those things. But they still did Mountain Dew pong at Harding and things like that. I mean, not that I went to Harding, but I mean, I've heard the stories.
Stuff,
finding beer in the ceilings of free dorms and such. I mean, it happens. So parents can kind of fool themselves. It's a Christian university. Right. It's a bunch of college kids, man. They're going for the college experience. What do you think is going to happen? Immaturity is going to reign. So if you're going for that, I would say, that's a poor reason to saddle yourself with that much debt. So from that perspective, I also think, as far as it goes with choosing a college major, once again, that can be really difficult. You can look towards your passions. You can look toward what you're good at. I gravitated toward finding a need. I mean, I did want to be a therapist, and I knew that it was going to require a decent amount of schooling. But I'll be straight up honest with you. You look around and you see that there's a need. There was like 1 or 2 Church of Christ counselors in the entire town of Denver. Well, I don't know. I think there's plenty of space there for a Christian Church of Christ. Right, plenty of need. And so, yes, I wanted to help people. I wanted to fill that need, but I like making money. I got to feed my family. So you look for where there is a need and where there's opportunity. And so that's one of the big reasons why I chose that degree.
And this is a good question that Joe brought up that we need to ask, or that you need to ask rather, when you're, thinking about picking a career. What are you looking for in a job?
Yeah.
What is it that you are striving for, that you're searching for when you're thinking about picking a job? Because there are a lot of different reasons why you could be looking for a job, right? I just want to make money. I just want to make sure and provide for my family. And that's a legitimate reason for sure. Yeah. Some are in it for the experience, the idea of working for the experience. Some are in it to find meaning, right? To find purpose with their life. And so I think that's an important question you need to answer, because that also might reveal a little bit about what you should pursue. Should you go to trade school? Should you go to college? Should you, again, I remember being so overwhelmed with that decision at 15 years old of what major should I pick now, because the courses I was taking would have, or the major I chose would determine the courses that I was taking. And so we know it's intimidating. We know it's daunting, but these are the types of questions we should be asking.
There's a lot of pressure on young people, too, to go to college. You'll hear, my sister's got this all the time. So where are you going to college? Well, we're not going to college. We want to be stay-at-home.
Adults are like offended when you tell them that.
They really are. All these old people want to butt into your business and act like you're scum of the earth if you're not going to college. What? You don't want the college experience?
You must be stupid.
That's exactly it. Oh, wow. They look down on you. Meanwhile, they worked a trucking job their entire life. It's like, who are you to look down on me, right? But they always wanted to go to college, and they didn't get to. It's like college is worthless for 90% of the people that go to college.
Yeah.
The liberal arts degree, you can't get a job at Starbucks after. Like, wow, so you have all this debt, but what did the liberal arts degree get you? What did the humanities degree get you? What did all of these degrees? And you have to consider, how much money am I going to make after? Pure economics, man. How much money am I actually going to make after? Am I going to make enough to pay off the student loans? Like, you go in as a teacher in the public schools. One of my really good friends is a teacher back home. Shout out to Tyler. Great guy. Luckily, he's smart enough to go get himself a master's and work up into administration. A lot of the teachers around him, they get these degrees, they will never pay that off.
Right.
Just economically speaking. Be aware of those things. Think about it. But when you think about what are you looking for in a job, exactly as you said, if you're looking for money, fill a need. If you're looking for that identity, you want it to be the lifestyle, the identity that you have. I want to be the guy who's a lawyer, whatever it may be. Just understand your motivations, I guess, is what it is. But it gets us into like this. There's the pressure to go to college, but there's also the pressure, I think, in today's culture, correct me if I'm wrong, but for white collar. And that's kind of the second part we wanted to get into is there's the college versus straight into the workforce, and then there's the blue collar versus white collar. And I feel like a lot of pressure today is to go into white collar and to kind of look down on the
Well, I know
collar.
we do have a few younger viewers. White collar jobs are going to be the office jobs, right? Computer jobs,
pushing
accountants,
papers
and pushing papers and things like that. Whereas the blue collar is going to be more your trade type of stuff, electricians, plumbers, construction workers. There's a push towards white collar. One, because a lot of guys don't like physical labor anymore, and so the idea of sitting in front of a computer is a lot more appealing. But I'm actually going to turn it back over to you, because this has always been kind of a passion of yours to talk about the difference here, because your dad was blue collar. It is blue collar, I guess I should say, with the business that he built and the business that he was so incredibly successful at was blue collar.
Yeah.
And so it's something that blue collar can kind of be looked down upon a lot, but get into kind of I know you're not going to do a pros and cons list necessarily of both, but kind of the intricacies of this blue collar, white collar dichotomy.
Yeah. And as you said, don't ever look down on, this is just a word to the wise, don't ever look down on anybody for any job they have. Any job. I remember this kind of goes off the outline. But I remember a Disney show, actually. I don't recommend Disney, but Boy Meets World, probably before your time. And great show. A lot of, I mean, I'm sure there's things that don't at me if you're, well, they had this in the show. Look, I know that not every show is perfect. But earlier in the episodes, they had a show where Corey's dad, the main character's dad, was a grocer. And ran his own grocery store or something like that. He was a manager, I think, in a grocery store. And I think he had a, like, take your dad to, or yeah, have your dad at school day or whatever. You know, like they come in and share what they did. And all these other dads have these cool things.
Yeah.
And so he's really down on it. And he gets this advice toward the end. And it's just the coolest. This is why I love, like, old TV. Like, when they actually, old in the 90s, you know. But where they actually had meaning to it. And what he comes around to is, like, your dad provides for you every day.
Yeah.
Be glad that you have a dad that goes to work, shows up, works really hard, does his best, has moved up, and is in a position to provide well for you. And so it shifted his position of, my dad doesn't do all these cool things, to, and my dad shows up, my dad's there. And it was such a cool episode. Like, if you ever get a chance, if you're ever watching it, like, you'll have to comment on this video and see if or if you know what I'm talking about. But to that point, like, don't ever look down on anybody for the job they have. Oh, he's a janitor. Oh, wow, he you know, like, he's a trash man. Yeah, those are the people that make the world go round. My dad was a sewer and water guy, meaning all the sewer pipes that go in your house, that's what he did. And he made really good money doing it and built a 60-person company. And, like, he did a fantastic job, but man, he got looked down on a lot because, oh yeah, you're in the sewers. Like, and without that, where would you be?
Yeah, so I'm going to ask a question here that's not on the outline, because I wholeheartedly agree with everything that you're saying about don't look down on somebody because of the position that they have or because you deem it as an inferior job, maybe. Do you think, because I do, just off the top of my head, think that there is room for looking down on somebody? For instance, if you've got somebody who has been working for 25, 30 years, same job, never moved up, maybe it's a lower level job. It's good that they're working. It's good that they're trying to provide for their family. But I look at somebody like that, and I think a couple of reasons why. Either A, you're not very good at your job, so you're not going to be promoted. B, you never took any risks or never took any opportunities to take other jobs or to move up initiative, or, you know, I don't know. I guess what I'm getting at is I think there are reasons you can look down on somebody and be like, you're still there after 20 years and you're making the same amount of money. You're like, you could be doing more, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I think you can certainly question it. I've known guys like this where they don't move up, but they've been asked to move up and they turn it down. But sometimes there's a backstory to that. In moving up, well, we need you to take this responsibility. We need you to travel away from the family, whatever it is. There's backstories to that a lot of the time of, like, I don't want to travel away from my family. Family time's really important to me, and I make enough where we're comfortable. Yeah, granted, okay, but if you're flipping burgers 20 years later,
right? Like, if you're a McDonald's cashier at age 40 with 3 kids, I mean, I don't know. I get what you're saying. Yeah,
right. So I think everybody has a different story, is what I would say as to why. But yes, there's certainly a time to go, what are you doing? Right? Yeah. What are you doing?
That's what I mean.
And yes, exactly. And our white collar, blue collar, that happens in both white collar or blue collar. But yeah, the goal is how hard are you working in whatever position you're put in. I don't think there's a bad job out there. There are people who do a bad job. There's no such thing as a bad job. Mike Rowe with his dirty jobs, right? Like, that was a big one. But what you realize is, once again, those are the people that make the world go round. But if you're terrible at this job that nobody does, and you're terrible at the job that everybody does, maybe it just means you're a terrible worker, right? The job itself isn't bad. You're not, working to the glory of God. So, as far as it goes with the blue collar, I think that's an interesting discussion. I mean, we could spin off into that for a long time.
Yeah, sorry, audible there. Yeah.
No, you're good, because I kind of audibled as well. But I feel like, again, getting back to your question of the dichotomy, blue collar is, yes, more labor intensive, but I also feel like from a pure economic, and we're going to get into this one in the next one, like from a pure economic standpoint, you have to have those things.
Well, go ahead and get into that, because this is something that frustrates both of us, I think. You hear people that are like, well, teachers, they are way more valuable than professional athletes.
Yeah,
so
they should make as much.
Nurses should make more than movie stars. Like, stuff like, it's just typically, what's funny is typically it's teachers that are saying that, and it's nurses that are saying that, ironically. But not every related to them. Yeah, exactly. Not every job is created equal. And I interrupted you, so take over there.
No, you're good.
But it's basic economics, right? Provide value. Yeah.
Look, if you wanted to start as a backhoe operator in the town of Denver, you're starting at probably $75,000 to $90,000 a year. You go, whoa, that's a lot to operate a backhoe. Yeah, that's supply and
That was
demand.
the
This is
need.
basic economics. It's supply and demand. That's what's needed. If you want to go be the 1,000th coder at a company, you're probably not as needed, right? And sometimes guys
If the
do
supply is
really
low,
well,
the
but
demand will be higher.
bingo.
Yeah.
Bingo. This is nice and easy. That's why, well, why don't we make more flipping burgers? Let's just raise the minimum wage. Burger flipper can only ever make so much. You're not going to make $75,000 a year flipping
Why
burgers.
do teachers
Why?
make less than athletes? Because there's way more of them, and people can do that a whole lot easier than they can dunk a basketball.
Exactly. If a teacher can dunk a basketball or hit a 90-mile-an-hour fastball consistently while fielding on the defensive end, cool, go do that and make it and make it
Make way more money, right?
Few people can do it. A lot of people can teach kids. Yes, there are the talented ones that rise above, but a lot of people can do that. Very few can hit a 90-mile-an-hour fastball and dunk a basketball consistently.
Yeah, just like very few could be a neurosurgeon, for goodness sakes.
Exactly.
You know?
That's why it makes more money. So when you're thinking about picking a career, consider these things. If it's supply and demand, this is the basis of entrepreneurialism and capitalism.
Yeah.
You go to fill a need. So if the need arises and you have a guy who is looking to offer you a job in your town, maybe it's not the most glamorous thing, but he says, man, I'll offer you $60,000 a year. You are an 18-year-old kid and you get offered that thing. I really want to go just have the college experience. Yeah. You take that job and you work up. If there's ways to work up, that's my opinion. But if there's ways to work up, you go where the demand is high. That's why I went into therapy, as I saw a demand. Very few specialize in trauma-induced sexual addiction. I do. It works out very well. The demand is there. I have a lot of people give me a lot of phone calls because the demand is there. You go where the work is. So if you want to go into photography, good for you. You may be the most talented photographer on the planet. Bazillion photographers out there. Good luck making money. Now, if you can, good for you, but once again,
look for these things.
Look for these things. Just be aware.
Yeah, and we'll get into this last part here in a bit about, like, it's not always going to be about what you're good at. You can be the best video game player in the world, and might not be.
You had before we.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I wasn't going to skip over that.
I was going to say I really want you to hit that point because this is it's going to be harsh.
In the Church of Christ, this is a problem with a lot of young men. You'll see that they will maybe bounce around job to job. What do you want to do? What do you want to do with your life? I really don't know. I'm still kind of trying to figure it out. Maybe they go to college for a year or two. And they decide that they're going to be a minister.
Yeah.
They decide that they're going to go to preaching school. And anybody with a brain can see that was their backup plan.
That's exactly backup.
Right. Like, we want to encourage you. Don't look at ministry and, if all else fails, I guess I can just go be a preacher.
That's right. It's free education.
That's terrible. And I think, to be honest, and this is going to sound harsh, the people that we have in a lot of ministry positions are evidence of this.
I'm sorry. They don't deserve to be there.
Yeah.
They truly don't deserve to be there. And that sounds really mean, and we may get some comments, and you can't say that. If you have a young kid who really couldn't cut it at anything else in life, that's the guy you want leading people spiritually in the pulpit every Sunday? If the guy couldn't make it flipping burgers, you want him leading people spiritually? Probably not.
And it's the same thing with youth ministry. This drives me nuts. Every young guy ever is like, I want to go be a youth minister. And it's like, why do you want to be a youth minister? If you really boil it down, it's because they want to have fun. They want to
play laser tag, eat pizza, and go bowling.
They want to go, have fun with the kids. And let's face it, not really have to work. I know there's youth ministers that work hard. I'm generalizing. I will admit
you were one of them.
There are youth ministers that work really hard. There are youth ministers that do a really good job. A lot of young guys that are going to college to be a youth minister is because they don't want to do anything else that is going to require more work. And so, is it wrong? Obviously, it's not wrong to go be a preacher. It's not necessarily wrong to go be a youth minister, but do it for the right reasons.
I was going to say, the reasons matter.
Yes.
And if it's your contingent plan, your backup plan when everything else fails, because it's free education, please don't saddle a church with your, I don't even know what I want to call that.
Incompetency.
Yeah, that's exactly it. With your incompetency because you couldn't cut it in any other way. We want guys filling the pulpit that's like, I could be making $150,000 being a neurosurgeon, and I decided to quit. My best friend at Bear Valley left a highly lucrative job. He was doing very well in life, and he felt called to ministry and ended up living in Ghana and living in a shack, basically, and went and helped over there.
Wow.
That's how it's done. That's the guy we want filling the pulpit where it's like, I could be making plenty of money. I mean, he had lots of fun stories, meeting celebrities and everything else. Very high-paying job, and he left it all to go be a minister. Bingo. That's what we want filling my pulpit. I don't want the young kid who can't cut it with anywhere else. So, we're not trying to be a jerk. We're just trying to say, don't let that be the backup plan. And that kind of gets us into what I would say is this next point, and that's the idea of don't jump ship constantly. There is something among young kids where you give it 2 weeks and you go,
It's not for me.
It's not for me. I don't like it. Tough hours, man. I barely have time to get home. Like, okay, let's see. You have like no bills. You have nothing else. You come home, your mom cooks you dinner. You don't even have a girlfriend. Like, you have nothing that's really pulling on your time other than video games, but you can't be bothered. Like,
you see these kids with like a year's worth of a resume and they've got like 6 jobs because they bounce from here and they bounce to there, and after 2 weeks they just bounce to somewhere else, and man, I just really didn't like the way they were running things over there, so they bounce to somewhere else. And it's like, that looks really, that reflects very poorly, I would say. And so, yeah, don't jump ship constantly. It's one of those things that, I mean, if you've been at a job a while and you can just tell maybe there's no opportunities to move up, or maybe the management is bad, but you've been there, you put the time in, sure, you can maybe move on to something else. But, man, give it a little bit longer than a couple months.
That's right.
Like, I'm a firm believer that you will certainly move up, and wherever you are, if you're hardworking and if you're competent at your job, there will be opportunities. There's such an epidemic of people who are not competent at their job and who are not hardworking,
especially
these days.
young people.
Yes,
and we're not trying to come across as condescending, and I realize some of this may come across as harsh in what we're saying. Like, and if you are one of those that's had a ton of jobs, we don't hate you, but we are saying stick around, man. I mean, make it worth it. We've seen this. I mean, personally, I've seen it time and again, where you see guys jump from job to job, and I ultimately think it hurts them. I would say, as a rule of thumb, stick around long enough to make an impression on your boss and on your fellow employees.
I've told this story before, maybe on a different podcast. Every job that I've ever had has been presented to me as an opportunity because of the job that I was in currently. And by that I mean I stuck with it. I was working really hard, and opportunity came up because of the job I was in.
That's right.
I never would have had that if after 3 months I worked at a UPS store. That was my first job for a year and a half, and I'll be honest, after 8 or 9 months, I got bored of it because it was monotonous. I didn't just get up and leave and say I'm gonna go find somewhere else. I kept at it, and guess what? 6 months or a year and a half in, got an opportunity from one of the customers that was there that was interacting with me every single day and liked the way I did things. That led to other opportunities, and so opportunities will present themselves almost always to move up or to be promoted if you are good at your job and if you're hardworking.
9 months in, I'm just bored. I'm just going to go somewhere else. You never get that
opportunity.
You never get the opportunity. So push through. Be willing to push through and make yourself irreplaceable. And that's what you did. Is they couldn't replace you. Like, it was very difficult to replace you, and you made yourself irreplaceable in the next job before you went to Decatur. And, I mean, that's something to be proud of, is you pushed in a way where you were noticed not just by your boss and by your fellow employees. Other customers are coming and noticing. That speaks well to you. And so don't jump ship constantly. You lose out on who knows how many opportunities. You push through something and you got rewarded for it. Another point to remember, I'd say, is diversify. And this one, I believe in this. You and
Joe's
I both
passionate about this. I mean, both of us, but
both of us, because both of us hold multiple jobs. Don't be a one-trick pony. I think about this in therapy. I always tell my clients, I'm not a one-trick pony. I am a what they call I take an integrative approach, meaning I blend about a dozen different treatment modalities. Why would I not? Why would you not want to be skilled in as many ways to heal people or help people as possible? I would say the same thing in the workforce is, well, I know how to code. Okay, so if you lose your job there, what do you do? Well, I don't know. That's all I know. That's all I know how to do. That's all. I'm just waiting for the next coding job. Okay, well, what if all of those have dried up in your area? I don't know. I guess I'm going to have to move away. Like, diversify and be good at multiple things.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. Be willing to work in multiple fields, and that's tough because it requires work. I mean, it requires the effort that you have to put in to get good at various things. But man, talk about being. I mean, we live in some rough economic times. Talk about being able to lay your head on a pillow and be comfortable with, I'm going to be able to take care of my family, even if one field I'm in falls through.
And maybe you do want to be that photographer. Maybe you are really talented as a photographer, but you can't really make ends meet. Maybe work a blue-collar job during the day. Maybe be cleaning, washing dishes.
Edit your photos at night,
and then do your photos at night and get really good while you're doing that. It's the hustle culture, and there's negative connotations to that. But in my opinion, you getting good at multiple things looks really good on a resume, but also it makes you irreplaceable in other jobs. Like, yeah, I've done that one before. Yeah, I also know how to do that too. And they're going, whoa, this guy knows how to do
a lot of stuff.
This guy knows how to do everything. He's irreplaceable.
Yeah, I want to combine these last two. Well, we've talked about chase your dreams culture before. I'm not going to delve completely into that.
Yeah.
But I did want to say, like, once again, I think we talked about this in our episode on hard work. Like, everybody's got dreams, ideal job, right? What's your dream job? They're called dreams for a reason. We've talked about that. Like, you're not always going to get your dream job. You're not always going to get to be a pro athlete. You're not always going to get to, be a high-powered lawyer or neurosurgeon.
Right.
It's great to have those dreams. It's great if you want to pursue them up to a certain point, but you're probably not. I mean, I don't want to. That's rude to say you're probably not going to achieve them, but statistically, you probably are not going to.
Right. Depending on the dream, yeah.
Yeah, depending on depending on the dream. And so be realistic about it is what I would say there. But that combines very well with this last thing that we want to talk about, which is you can't always go into a field that is all about your passion or your skill. Yeah. And this one's tough because it's like, what do I want to do with my life? What's the first question we think about? What am I good at?
Yeah,
what do I really like to do? And I'd say that's probably a good place to start.
Sure.
But you could be really, really good at something or really, really passionate about something that, going back to the economics point, just doesn't add a lot of value to society. It's not going to pay the bills. There's a lot of guys that want to, be a social media influencer or whatever. And there's a lot of people that make a lot of money doing that. But, if that's something that you're passionate about, that you maybe you're really good at, you might not be making money there. And so that's something to consider as well. Again, I think it's a good place to start about, like, okay, what am I good at, what I'm passionate about? You might have to branch out a little bit. Learn to love what you do is what your dad always talked about.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. I mean, I don't know that there's much that I would add to it. I just think you may have really good skills, learn those skills, hone those skills. This is where diversification comes in.
Yeah.
But just be realistic in it is all we're saying. We've talked about that before. I love, as he said it, and what my dad says, like, you can't always do what you love. Learn to love what you do.
Yeah, that's really good.
Because wherever you're planted, you'll grow, and you'll do a really good job. And I realize a lot of this is like, well, don't do this and don't do that, and make sure that you're, don't jump ship constantly, and don't chase your dreams. Don't just chase your dreams, and you can't always pursue passion skills. And you may be saying, this is a downer episode, like, you're just telling me what I can't do. That's not at all what we're attempting to do. We're trying to give... I think we've heard a lot of things. Well, just chase your dreams. Well, go to college, enjoy the college experience. And we're telling you on the back end of it, like...
That's kind of bad advice.
It's bad advice. Yeah. We're trying to give you the opposite side of... I think that has really hurt a lot of young people, and it's led them into debt. It's led them into a lot of stupid decisions. They've changed their lives over it. And just be aware of that there's another alternate side. And yes, you may have to trailblaze a little bit. You may be the one guy in your class at school, or the one guy at your class at church, or whatever it may be, that is not going to college. He's the guy that's staying behind, and you can feel really like left out. And wow, everybody else is doing this, and everybody else is chasing their dreams, and they're so and so's going after this. And you may even have a guy that hits it, a guy makes the MLB, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Well, wow, boy, what did I do with my life? You want to look at yourself in the mirror and be proud of what you see, and that's why work ethic matters so much. And so, and things like that. And so we wanted on the last part of the outline to get into some traits to master, some things that I think as you look yourself in the mirror, you're going to like who you see, regardless of what job you have, regardless of whether you made the NBA or whatever it is. You can look yourself in the mirror and be happy, and you can feel good about the job you're doing.
Because you may not be in a position right now you may be 15, 16, and your career is several years away.
Yeah.
Or you might already be knee-deep into trade school or into your career, whatever, and, maybe you don't have some of these traits. So start now, is all we're saying. Yeah. We're trying to, again, like you're saying, encourage you. These are the traits to master, whether you're 15 and not really started your career, whether you're just getting started a little older. Traits to master now, we'll hit these quickly. Work ethic. I think that goes without saying. Like, be a hard worker. Be somebody who other people look at and go, that person really, really works hard. The second is what I would say, dependability. I don't know if you want to get into this one.
Yeah, dependability. Show up on time. Do a really good job. Yeah. Be the guy that when they're looking for help, you're the guy that's there. You're dependable. You're not dropping the ball every single time.
You're not calling out once a week. And
That's right. Oh, man, I forgot to do that. No, be dependable. Be serious about
And once again, the work ethic, just those two, if we stopped right there, that's going to set you apart from a lot of people.
Oh, yeah. That alone, you're going to move up in a company because that's so difficult to find these days.
Another one I would say, and we already sort of talked about it, jump at opportunities. Opportunities will present themselves, and it's important. And you got to be careful. You don't want to be the one always looking over the fence, like, is it better over there? Or maybe, again, like the job bouncing thing. Maybe I should go over there. Maybe I like it better over there. But, man, if an opportunity presents itself, even if it's in your current job, hey, a position for promotion or whatever, I would say jump at it. Like that. Yeah. That's when those opportunities are really exciting, is when you have been noticed, you have been performing really well, and your superiors come to you and say, what do you think about doing this?
Even in an opportunity that doesn't necessarily pay more, get you a raise or whatever else, the boss comes to you and says, hey, we got a little extra work today, who can take it?
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
can. Okay, you're not necessarily getting the raise. You're not necessarily getting a promotion.
Really need somebody to come in and cover this weekend shift. Yeah.
Right. You jump at those opportunities as much as you can because that looks really good, and it is something that will set you up more in the future. The next one I'd say is, excuse me, working well with coworkers. Be a team player.
Yep.
Be somebody that people like to be around.
Yes. I'm going to jump to the last one because it ties into this. Be optimistic at your job. Be somebody, and again, ties into what you're saying, be somebody that other people enjoy working around. Nobody likes to be around the person that comes in the office with a super grumpy look on their face, super annoyed that it's Monday, and it's just a drag to be around those people. It's so much more enjoyable, and the day flies by so much faster when you enjoy working with the people that you work with. When it's enjoyable because they're optimistic, they're positive, they're smiling, they're laughing. Yeah, you're at work and you may have a tough assignment and you may not want to be there. You'd rather be on the golf course, whatever it is. It helps to be optimistic and to be around people who are optimistic. So that one's big as well.
That's right. It's not your job or your boss's fault that you're having a tough time.
Yeah.
Don't take it out on your fellow employees, your coworkers. Don't take it out on your boss. Don't take it out on your job. I just had a fight with my girlfriend, and so I'm going to show up and not do a good job. No. You made the commitment. You're going to do the best that you can in that position. Be adaptable. Be somebody that is able to adapt on the fly, is able to change and to be kind of, again, the Swiss Army knife. Hey, what you need, I'll be there for you.
And this ties into this last one, being open to change and new things. I think so many times we can kind of get in our little comfort zone, our little rut, and we've got what we're supposed to do. And if anybody asks us to do anything outside of that, nope, not going to do it. Nope, that's not what I do. That's not my job type of thing.
It's above my pay grade.
Right, it's above my pay grade. It's like, be open to new things, because with the new things, all this ties together, the new opportunities will come. And with being adaptable, I've never done that before, but sure, I'll give it a try. I'll take a swing at it. I'll see what I can do with that versus nope, can't be done. Nope, I can't do it. Nope, ask somebody else. The best workers and the ones that get the opportunities are the ones who are going to try new things and be adaptable.
So we've come to the end of the outline. I don't know if you had anything else, but I wanted to ask a question. I'm going to take it first because I'm putting you on the spot here. Advice for what jobs you think, if we were coaching young men, what jobs do you think they should take? And I'm going to start first.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Audible here.
I was going to say, it's not audible, so give it some thought. But I'm going to start first because I was actually giving it some thought of, what, we can't tell you what to do. This is your life. Pursue.
And there's a million good jobs.
There's a bazillion good jobs. So yeah, don't think that this is the only ones. But I'll tell you what I think Christians really need. First off, things having to do with blue collar, specifically filling community needs. In my opinion, that opens the door to so many things. And I've seen it just from a personal level with my dad and things like that, of him being able to reach into the community and help the community. And he's developed a lot of good relationships because he is a pillar in the community from a blue-collar perspective. The average income on, I was telling you this before, the average income in Long Island for plumbers, it starts at $104,000. You start making that immediately. And I know it's New York, I know it's expensive, but that's a starting salary. It is supply and demand, but you also get to work in something that people really, really need. So I think that's one. We do need more Christian therapists. I'll just tell you right now. I think we need more people that are able to navigate the mental health fields adequately, and that doesn't necessarily mean you have to be a therapist, but I do think that we could use more of those. Yes, I'm biased there, but I think that's a big one. And I do think we need people that are willing to be tent makers, that are willing to preach, that are in the trades, but they're willing to preach, not as a job. I think the future is tent making, where somebody can serve with a church, they can preach, but that's not their only job. They go out in the community and they find a community job where there's a lot of foot traffic. That's one of the things I liked about yours at UPS and such, is a lot of people. You interact with people all day. What a great way to spread spread the gospel and to shine the light, while at the same time, man, what if that person walks into church? You've already had a good reputation, and you happen to be preaching, and they just develop this rapport. So being out in the community in noticeable positions, I think, is huge.
I would say, I think like you said, I think trades are a good option right now because a lot of people aren't doing them, and so there's money to be made there.
There's stability.
There's
we
stability
will always
there.
Need plumbers.
And on that note, another one that I would say, and I guess this is something I've done a lot, and so it's kind of, I'm biased towards it, but you know what every company is always going to need? Good management. People who are dependable, who can supervise other people. And so one of the things that I would say, fresh out of college, you're probably not going to get a management job. Look for companies who you can tell treat their employees well, and they give their employees opportunities to move up.
Yeah.
I think of like Chick-fil-A. They're really big about that. I mean,
Yeah.
if you work hard at a Chick-fil-A and you do it for several years, you're probably going to have opportunities to manage, maybe even to own your own store. Entrepreneurship is one that it's like, look for a need and fill it. Start your own business. But going back to the manager thing, my brother Reese at Publix, he's worked there for several years. He's moved up a ton. I don't want to speak for him. He's not on the podcast, but he's hoping to maybe one day run his own store.
Yeah.
But with that comes having to stick to a certain place, continue to be dependable. And so that's what I would say is, if you think you might be good as being a manager or supervising things, look for companies that are going to treat their employees well and who are going to give you those opportunities to rise up.
Yeah.
And man, stick with it from there.
Companies need leaders. That's a great point.
They absolutely do. And if you're efficient at it, if you're good with people, if you're good at communicating, you are going to be valued in the workforce. And so, yeah, we could have talked about a ton of other things there, but good audible question there.
I hit put you on the spot, but that was good. That was good. So with that, anything else?
Nothing else, yeah.
All right. That's going to wrap us up. And like Will said, this is going to start, I think, at least a 3-part series. In the next couple, we'll get into choosing good friends, choosing a spouse. We're excited to have that.
I want to say something on that real quick. It's very cool that we get to choose all this. Like, we have a lot of power at our disposal. We get to choose what we do with our jobs. Yeah. We get to choose our spouse. We get to choose the people we associate with. We can't waste that power. With great power comes great responsibility.
There you
go.
There's
a Spider-Man quote. Don't disparage that. Again, don't take that for granted, I guess I should say, that you get to pick what field you work in for the most part. You get to pick who you marry. You get to pick what friends you associate with. And so as we go throughout these episodes, think about that and consider the power, again, that you really wield in that. Use it for good. Make sure that you're picking well. So I just wanted to say that.
No, that's a great point. That's a great point. With that, that's going to wrap us up for episode 24. We'll catch you next week.